Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice program. Our show is brought to you by our friends at Tanner Health System. Today is Friday, the last Friday of 2017. This is the last Community Voice program of the year, and brought in a special guest for us this morning. You can see him right now on Facebook Live. It is Carroll County Commission Chairman Marty Smith. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Colin.
The best voice in radio, no doubt, and I'm a little intimidated this morning, just the voice.
It's because I was born with that TV, not a TV face. Colin.
Handsome young lad, no doubt, and a little extra growth today. So you haven't shaved since like January of last year?
Unfortunately, I've never gone more than a couple of days, but kind of in memory, we lost my uncle here about 2 weeks ago. My two brothers and I decided in his memory not to shave until January 1, so I didn't think I didn't think on radio you would be showing all this.
We did kind of throw you under the bus this morning with that, but a little tribute to your uncle, so very cool.
Thank you.
Again, Carroll County Commission Chairman Marty Smith, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. Questions and comments, you can post those on the Facebook page. If you have some of those this morning, we'll take a peek at those and pass those along to Marty. As we enter 2018, I'm looking at, you're going to be like, by the end of 2018, there'll just be one commissioner left that started with you 6 years ago. And that'll be George Chambers. We have, I guess, the vice chairman is stepping down as of at the end of this month, and Vicki Anderson announcing this week or last week that she won't seek re-election next year. She'll be with it most of the year, if not the whole year next year. But George Chambers will be the last one. Any comments about Trent and Vicki?
Absolutely. Trent North's been a personal friend. I'll tell everybody I've known him long enough. My wife graduated high school with him, but my mother actually taught Trent in kindergarten. I keep telling him that's where he got his start. He's got a 25-year tenure here. Obviously, he went to Douglas County. They are very lucky to get a young man of that caliber right there. Trent's got a few years left. And good for him for a great position. But people don't realize what we're going to be losing in Carroll County with just the loss of Trent. 25 years of, the institutional knowledge of what it takes. Like I say, you can't go hire somebody that knows Carroll County. You might hire somebody that knows government, but you don't know can't just hire somebody that will have his institutional knowledge. But one good thing, I've still got Trent's cell phone number, and he can't run. He can run, but he can't hide. And same thing with Vicki. Vicki, unfortunately, has had a lot of tragedies in her life. I tell you, she's a trooper, a true storm trooper. She's had 5 deaths in her family or very close to her, and she's looking for change. And I don't blame Vicki. She's put in 12 years. She's represented the Villarica area well, just like Trent has his district, District 1. Vicki's been a tremendous asset to the Carroll County Board, really just trying to keep things on track and making sure things are the way they're supposed to be. So Vicki's done a great job. She's going to be a very tough one to replace, too. So will Trent, because, like I say, institutional knowledge, hard to replace.
Of course, Michelle Morgan will still be there, I think, for another actually, she's on the ballot this year. As is George Chambers. So yes. Assuming he wins and continues with that, he'll be the longest serving guy.
Absolutely.
But I think there's 4 races coming up. Will Trent's race be the same ballot as Vicki's, or is it special?
Trent, because kind of I think getting kind of pressured, he'd agreed to come off the board. If he could have stayed through February of 2018, we could have put him on that same ballot. But because he had to resign by 12/31 of 17, we are having to do a special election for him. I think qualifications late January. His election, I think, will take place in March, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So our elections officials handle all the legalities that with the state and their dates. But and then the next, obviously, one for the Vicki will be coming up in May.
Okay. And I guess qualifying for that, so I think it's March, like the first week of March.
Yes.
And those are partisan races too, right?
Yes,
so,
sir.
I mean, they're likely to be decided in May, but if not, they could go on.
No Democrat opponent, then they'll be decided in May. It's the governor changed that. Actually, the year I came in office in 13. Mm-hmm. So actually, you win or lose in May and still could hold office all the way through the end of the year. So,
all right. Carroll County Commission Chairman Marty Smith, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program, 834. Again, good morning to our friends watching us on Facebook Live and, of course, News Talk 1330 and FM 106.3. We're FM. Do you know that?
I do. I listen to 106.3. I always compare. It's that you pick it up and the clarity's there, but the tone is totally different. But we listen to 106.3 all the time.
Yeah, we try to remind everybody. Still a few people out there that may not have checked that out. But, yeah, it does pick up. It sounds better further out.
It does.
And we're proud to be able to broadcast on that FM station now. Well, let's look back on 2017. I mean, I imagine you've been in office, 6 years now?
This is my completion of my 5th year.
Okay.
First year of the new 4-year term.
Well, what can you learn after? I guess if that was your first year after your first term, was there anything else to learn in 2017? I mean, were there new things? Were there any shocks or surprises to you in 2017?
The shocks and surprises are probably not there as bad, but ACCG says it takes a good 2-3 years to really get in. You know, our county, we're one of the largest in the state of Georgia. We're not metro. However, they're trying to pull us that way, but we're one of the largest in there. We've got 650 employees, included part-time, with a $48 million budget. It takes a long time to get a grasp around it. And I tell you, the whole program is no better than those department heads that are in charge. And if I'm going to brag on one thing today, other than our finances, where we're headed and things we're doing, is getting a team really together. And Colin, you see this a lot of times in politics, and I don't want to sit here. I always say public servant, because I'm really not here to play politics. Dusty Hightower, Senator Dugan, we've talked about that. We're here because we're faithful to it. We love what we're doing. We want to give back. This is not building a team, a Marty team. It's building a Carroll County team. We're literally every day trying to put the best people in the best place to offer the services and things that we do for Carroll County. And if I got hit by a train tomorrow and was gone, that somebody could take this place and keep it running and go even take it to the next level. That's where our goal is to put the right people in the right place doing the right thing, and that's what we've really accomplished. We've got great employees here at Carroll County.
How many administrative leaders do you guys have? How many offices, departments are there in the county?
Typically, there's about 18, and then we've got some elected officials, because obviously we've got the 4 constitutional officers. All we really do is help them with them and set their budgets. We do not handle their employees or their day-to-day activities. So a good span of at least 18.
You mentioned that you feel like they're trying to pull us into rural Atlanta. Is there like an official notification of that? I mean, we're actually called rural Atlanta? Because, I mean, I think people talk about it. We've talked about it on this program with other people where some people want us to be considered rural Atlanta. Maybe it's a selling point for bringing business here and stuff. So there's actually like a notification to be called rural Atlanta.
There's a letter that was sent from Atlanta. I've been in office about 18 months. It's actually sent from the Atlanta Regional Commission.
The ARC, okay.
And ARC. And the letter doesn't say we'd like for you to join. It tells you a date that says you will be a member if you don't establish and do something prior to that. Mm-hmm. And thank goodness we just hired somebody that had worked up in Paulding County that knew what that letter meant. That wasn't
Benjamin
secretly.
Skipper.
Benjamin Skipper.
His wife's British.
Absolutely. So having him on board, he knew what that letter meant. I would not have, and I will say that would have been a big mistake on our part for Carroll County. But long story, we put our legislative together. We met with the GDOT in Atlanta. They somewhat agreed to what we were trying to do. We met, basically it was the Villarica and Temple areas along the interstate there because of the density in the population, so they were trying to drag us in. There's originally only 10 metropolitan groups that are members of the ARC, and they've expanded to 22, and they're trying to even expand further, but only the original 10 have a member on the board that gets to sit there and vote, Colin. So therefore, Carroll County would have been sending its transportation money to Atlanta in the hopes that we get something back. And for some reason, that does not work well or sit well. So the governor we were able to meet with the governor, and then we took it all the way to Washington, D.C. with a delegation here, 2 mayors and 4 legislative delegates with us, and we took it all the way to D.C. and actually got signed off on that until they do the next census. We had to be a part of an MPO. They just don't say which one. So we're trying to do one that's more of a southern rain that matches us more with the Cowettas, the Spaldings, and all that, and kind of stay out of the Atlanta region.
So we're not in a group at all to
by
get this
law,
transportation.
Right now, we have to belong, so we're in that group. But what we did is drew up legislative wording that says at any time when we meet the credentials, it gives us a way out. Mm-hmm. So that's what people don't realize. In fact, that will happen for statewide. There's people in the state that don't realize we fought the battle for the whole state and that they've got a way out. So,
but when it comes across to they're facing the same thing, they'll dig up that information. Like,
absolutely.
Hey, Carroll County out there on the west side did this. We're going to take our first break here. I understand that you're making the treks. You're going to all of our civil groups and things like that, kind of making a state of the county speech as we get into 2018. And maybe we can talk a little bit about that, touch on some key points, what we can look forward to in 2018.
Yes, sir.
After we take our first break, it is 8:39, just about 20 minutes before 9 o'clock on this final Friday of 2017. Community Voice, Brought to you by Tanner Health System here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3, and this morning on Facebook Live.
At Tanner,
All right, welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice Program. Our show brought to you by Tanner Health System, 841. I'm your host, Colin Worthington. Our guest this morning is Carroll County Commission Chairman Marty Smith. This segment, hope to look forward to 2018. As I reflect on 2017 for Carroll County, I mean, I think stability. I think this was, we had some scary moments with weather and things like that I think cost the county a lot of time and money putting things back together. But I'm looking back on 2007. I feel like it's stable. I don't think we had any major issues. Would this have been the first year that the county actually got back to making money, to where they weren't digging in? And maybe I'm phrasing it wrong. To where they weren't counting on other sources to even out the budget.
Yeah, Colin, I think the quick thing people look at is what we hold in our reserves as our funds. Until we collect money, but our reserve funds, and we've had to dip in those first couple of years is about $200,000 the first year, $300,000 the next year. But then we go with our health insurance because we're self-insured. We took some pretty good hits in some areas. We dipped down about $1 million. But what we do is we have to have an audit done every year, and those are audited numbers at the end of the year. A lot of people kind of like to do the smoke and mirrors. They like to kind of show you where the money was at a certain time of year, but then show you where it's at a different time of year. And you can't do that. What we do is do true audited numbers. But 2 years ago, we put $500,000 back in the reserve funds, and then last year we put $1.1 million back in reserves. So we should be up from where we were when I actually came into office. Those funds are there. They're tax dollars. They're not sitting there just not to use. They are there to use during hard times. We've got a new finance director, Lehman Stevens. When he came on board a little over a year ago, he'll tell you I had two goals. Keep money in reserves where we don't have to borrow to keep our credit rating up, which we're at a superior rating now. Just as when I came into office, we've done well on our bond ratings. But the other thing is to find money to give back employees, because we've not done a study in a long time, but we know our pay scales are way off. Just like some of our municipalities here lately have found out that, it's tough. We want to be able to be competitive around the state, not consider ourselves a training ground, and we continue to give money back. And that's the biggest thing when I say I'm pleased with our employees. We have proven as a board that when we find money, we have given it back to those two places, put in reserves to where we don't have to borrow, and we've given employees back. I think we've given a longevity, we've given a Christmas and annual bonus, we've given a 5% raise and a 4% raise. And we've done all that in the last 5 years when we come in when we were working off a $2.5 million deficit in revenues, all because of the leadership, the hard decisions that these team leaders have made. They bought into the system. We've proven as a board that if we find money, we're going to give it back to the employees. It's made these department heads really work hard and watch the money.
Now, let me clarify that. Obviously, when I said this is the first year, I'm digging back into the little minuscule parts of my brain here. I guess that's a conversation I had last year with you. Maybe it could have been earlier this year. So this is actually the second year then that it's built up. But there was a point. I mean, the first 4 years to where the county wasn't able to put any money in reserves at all.
Absolutely. The only way we were able to keep it that low and not really go into debt even more or borrow that money, any further was simply, like I say, the strategic assembly of a good department head work team. I call it our leadership group. Our leadership team is the department heads, and they bought into saving money. It's just the basic thing. You can set the revenue level at whatever you want, but if it doesn't come in, and when I took office, there were actual department heads that when we set the budget for the next fiscal year, starting July 1, they thought on July 1 they had, let's say your budget, Colin, was $3 million. They thought there was $3 million
right.
sitting
Thanks,
there.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, that money is not there. Department heads had to realize that the revenue has to come in by year end to be able to spend that money during the year. And if the revenue's not there, and I'll just tell you, for the first 4 years, almost 4 years, we worked over, like I say, off a $2.5 million deficit in what revenues were. So therefore, you have to keep your expenditures down. It's the only way we've been able to survive during this time. Because I will tell you, we've got a brand new finance director on board. It's been here a little over a year. It's got his hands around the situation. It's the biggest reason I want to stay and do what I'm doing is because we, for once, have really got a grasp on where we are on the financial side. He did a study. He really tracked our back, timing back, and really looked at everything. Last year, we were only a little over $200,000 of what we brought in revenue than what we brought in 2008. So, we lowered what our revenue projections were. We've kept our expenditures down, but we're just now realizing the revenues of 2008, Colin, when things really went south on us.
Carroll County Commission Chairman Marty Smith, our guest on this morning's Community Voice. Let's talk a little bit about revenue. This past year, we had at least a couple big businesses. Or maybe again, I'm combining 2 years here, but I mean we've had some big names pop in and bring some jobs to our area.
Biggest thing is we've had a lot of expansion with Southwire Sugar Foods up in Villa Rica. We've seen some great expansion, which we try supporting our expansions. We promote that when we have a town come in. Colorado Premium was one of our big ones that came in. A great asset, bringing in almost 300 jobs, and it seems like it was $20 million investment right there, and I think they're already looking at investing. In fact, the owner, when he did at the grand opening, he said if he was a little bit younger, he would move the operation here because he loved Carroll County that well. So, yeah, we've had some great announcements. We're going to continue. We're working on Tim Warren is head of our development authority. We just put a little more money towards his development authority and going to give some more because we're about out of inventory. Colin, we have to have something to market because years ago a team would come here and look at Carroll County and then you'd say, all right, let us assemble this property and we'll get it ready. That you can no longer do that. When the state calls you, they want to know what you have in place ready to set a building on. So the competitive market out there has gotten a lot more competitive, and we've got to have some more inventory, and we're going to continue as a board to work that and support economic development and bring good jobs to Carroll County.
Have there been any discussions about the technology park off of the bypass there? And I guess how much is Carroll County involved with that?
Carroll County does. We actually own that park. It was a joint venture prior to me coming into office. Don't know all the details, will not be in here. It is a great asset. I'll tell everybody, yes, it's not. We have people look at it weekly. I get those reports, so people are looking at it weekly. When the fall of 2007 and 8 and technology, a lot of that was put on hold or small decisions weren't made. I still to this day think it's a good asset to have right there. We, like I say, having people look at it. Well, it's no secret out that West Georgia Technical College is looking at expanding now, doing a new facility here in our area. That's one of the locations we're going to be looking at to assemble them. And with the workforce development, being able to put businesses located in the same development with them, I think is a grand idea that actually came out of our community development, Artagas and all them working with Ben in that area and back when Amy was there. So we've got some good ideas for out there, and it's going to keep moving. But we need some more land other than that to be able to promote.
Well, to put WGTC in the technology park, do you have to change any of the rules as far as that? I mean, will it still be a technology park?
Education fits under the technology. Okay. We did our own zone. When I came on board, it was still zoned agriculture. It was not even in the development authority, and as most people don't realize, but the county government cannot buy and sell property. So that's why we have the development authority. So we put all the land in the development authority. Now we've set the guidelines for how that is zoned, and education fits right in there.
I tried to talk about 2018 in this segment, but we will hold off to the third segment. So stick around for that information. We'll take our final break here, come back and finish our discussion with Carroll County Commission Chairman Marty Smith just about 10 minutes before. Community Voice, brought to you by Tanner Health System here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3 and this morning on Facebook Live.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
And welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program. Our show brought to you by Tanner Health System. Just about 8 minutes left in our Friday program, the final Community Voice program of the year 2017. Our guest this morning, Carroll County Commission Chairman Marty Smith. And now let's look to 2018. And we, I guess, do we feel like, you can ask this question every year, are we officially out of the recession? Do we see the numbers going up continuously at this point? I think even this last year we thought we were, just keeping it steady. But does 2018 look like a year that revenues start to shoot up and stay up?
I think that's fair to say. We've done the reassessments, commercial, personal. We've done everything that I see in office that we can do, changing from the building permits, everything we've done over the last 3 years to set us where we're at and really get, and like I say, having a new finance director, being able to sit here and say we're finally looking at Carroll County from a total picture of what we needed. So we've got that information, but I think it's fair to say that we are through the low point. Mm-hmm. I keep hearing that we're going to have a settlement, a resettlement of it, kind of a 2007-8 comeback. So we're trying to prepare ourselves for that. But yes, I think revenues, I think we finally saw the bottom, and Carroll County wasn't the quickest county to take a dunk into that, so I don't think we're the quickest coming out of it. But I think we finally saw our low point, and I think the numbers from last year finally show that we're coming out of this slow.
Yeah, so when we hear that on a national level, we can't really have to take that with a grain of salt. You have to look at it at the local level, and that's good and optimistic that you point that here. And I did mention in the last segment that you're kind of making the rounds and given the state of Carroll County. Share with us now, what is the state of Carroll County?
Well, Colin, one thing I've always begged you, I wish you'd give us a 2-hour segment here on Fridays to do this, because people don't realize, with a $48 million budget, really trying to see, that's the first thing they do want to know. When I get to speak to the grand jury every quarter, people want to know that we're healthy financially, and, from there, they really don't get involved. When you come to our meetings, you don't see but 7 or 8 there unless we have some big zone in there. But people want to know that we're running well and running efficient, and I think we can say that. Like I say, having the right leadership team in place, financially we're doing that. And for once since I've been in office, having the finances going in a direction and somebody overseeing. Our finance department has been built out. Every position is filled now. Like I say, for once, I feel more comfortable now about our finances than I ever have. That does not mean we have additional money. That is just using and utilizing what we've got, because for 2018, I think one of our big goals is trying to determine a location for our new admin building. We were moved in. The prior administration kind of had it made up for my office, HR, and what else? One of the other finances in that is to move into the old historic courthouse. But that takes us away from the administrative outlook that you see over in community development, the tag office, and everything that goes over there in elections. So the goal is to bring us all back together. So that's going to be one of the big goals, is trying to find and maybe purchase that land and do some infrastructure work. Any
land? Do you feel comfortable talking about any pieces
of
land out
absolutely.
there?
We looked at 9 pieces of property. A couple of those have been sold since since then. We've narrowed it down to 2 or 3. We've looked on the bypass as a consideration to help our constituents on the north side, on the Villa Rica side, get in and out of Carrollton. We've looked on Bankhead. The city of Carrollton has brought us to the table to look at some options as they go through their revitalization there. So we're trying to make it to where we can at least all of our services can move back together and be under one roof, because I know it's aggravating because the courthouse was only designed, for initially the 3 judges with hopes of one more in the future. And here we are, we've got 2 additional. We're up to 5 judges right there on just the Superior Court. That parking deck cannot be expanded. We're full over there. So I know it's aggravating to have citizens try to come into our office, and we're gonna look at something.
And I guess for people, though, who would say, how come it can't be in Villa Rica or Temple? It has to be in the county seat.
Exactly. So we're going to keep it here local. Trent North was adamant that we keep it downtown. If we can find the right property and keep it close, but we keep the judicial system there, and I think that's a commitment to keep it downtown. If we can be close, the closest we can, we want to be there too, because it is the county seat. But we're gonna find out what's best to allow the citizens to be able to come in and come out for services day to day. We're going to, under this current SPLOST, I think it goes through 2019, or goes through 2021. We'll have to vote on a new one by 2019, is to purchase land, do some infrastructure work, and then in 2021, maybe kick off building a new facility and be ready by then. We've got an additional fire station going out on Jones Mill Road that was our second one being built. It's meeting our ISO numbers to keep about 4,000 houses in order there. But
revisit how much how much insurance rates went up in those areas.
We had a deputy, on average, one of our deputies, he was making about $35,000 a year. His insurance went from $900 a year to almost $4,000 a year. So bringing these ISO ratings back into the right regulations that we needed them to are going to help about 4,500 homes on 2 parts of Carroll County. We obviously voted on and looked at an additional ambulance the other night, working with Steve Adams and the ambulance service there. We got a lot of renovations going on with the Ag Center. It's what I've been finding. Carroll County owns 94 buildings. A lot of them have not been taken care of, and just the wear and tear over a period of time. We're having to do some work on them. DFAC's building. We did the health center over the past 2 years. So DFAC's has 90 workers in a cubicle situation. It's basically cut for about 35 people. So we're fixing to do a huge project with DFAC's.
And you guys will actually regain your money back on that, the money you invest in there, because they'll pay rent.
Absolutely, under a current lease program we've got with them. So that'll come back to us. The transit should be kicking off this spring. Vicki Anderson was very adamant about that, and Michelle Morgan kind of heads that up as well. Commissioner Morgan, she's done a great job taking that one on. So that'll be coming on. Our recreation department with Oak Mountain Park, Gym Pavilion, that's one I've worked on with Southwire. Commissioner Morgan's helped me on that because she kind of lives out in that area, but we're going to be refurbishing that pavilion to make it finally look like something that's good, something good to look at when you drive by there. And we got a current gymnastics center that we are bidding out right now. We've got the Tice Road Bridge that we've worked on. We've got additional. Senator Dugan help us get additional money from the state. We pulled that up. Charles Pope, our roads department, and I went to Atlanta and came back with an additional $600,000 from Atlanta on that project. Even with House Bill 170 that passed and that additional money, they still saw our need and helping us there. And then we got our comp plan update. Mr. Skipper's got his hands full doing our comp plan update, because obviously whatever that comp plan is designed for is what we try to follow. So we will be trying to do it. You have to, I think, redo it every 10 years. So.
We have 1 minute left, and maybe you can answer this. We have 3 parks right now, 3 very nice parks. We have 3 that have been talked about being built up. What's the timeline on those, do you know?
I'll have to defer that to Ben Skipper. Obviously, we're going to continue to put money towards our parks. It's one of the best resources we have here in Carroll County is green space, but it does take additional maintenance and operations to do them. So we're kind of bringing them online slow, trying to put in maybe trails and stuff to where we don't have to have park personnel stay there on a day, maybe just unlock a gate and lock it back in the evenings right now. So we're opening up slow. We're not in a major rush to do them. So.
Carroll County Commission Chairman Marty Smith, thank you, sir.
Colin, thank you as always. Appreciate what you, Steve, and y'all do for our community.
And we appreciate you being on the final show of 2017.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
New Year, absolutely. And thanks for listening this morning and watching us on Facebook Live. Community Voice, as always, brought to you by our friends at Tanner Health System here on News Talk 1330 WLBB. Be safe out there this weekend, and we will talk to you in 2018.